had to be exhausted.
Yeah, I mean that was kind of the surprising thing, like because we're just sitting there. It's not like we're doing running laps or doing hard labor. But I mean, every day I would come home and I'm just exhausted, just because arguing with people for like 7 hours a day is just draining. So every day I'd come home and like 8:30, I'm just like, I'm ready to go to sleep because it was just. And then when we go home, it's not like we can just erase it. You know what I mean? It just follows us all day. I'm like, what can I do? How can I change their people's minds? Or it's just draining. I mean, it's all day. You know what I mean? So that.
What was when you first started this process? Like,
Mhm.
what was going through your mind? Did you understand the gravity, the capacity, the
I mean, when it first started, like, cause almost everybody's seen some part of it, or heard it. So we all kind of had our, just basically what we've heard. So, but I think we all went into it with an open mind. We had our what we've heard, but it was so little bit. So we all agreed that like we wanted to hear everyone's story. So that was my thing too. Is like I really didn't have a decision made because I wanted to hear everything. Because we really didn't know anything. So.
and when you got to sort of get to know everybody, I
Mhm.
guess.
Yeah.
I mean, did that help, or how did that change your perspective?
Um. Well, I mean, I must say the good thing was like, cause when we were delivering, it was getting heated. I mean, we were like, what are you, why, like we could, because it's two opposite sides, so it was heated in there. But the good thing was like as soon as the deliberations are like, once it was break time, smoke break, lunch. I mean, we're all is business, and after that it was like cracking jokes, whatever. So I mean, that was the good thing. We all were like, our own little family because we've been together for so long. So, I mean, we're all friends in a way. It was good. It was nice. That was the good thing. Like no one took it personal. We weren't attacking people. Just trying to get. We were just trying to do our job. Trying to get something out of it. But that's why I mean I wanted to say like sorry to everyone. That we couldn't find a verdict just because both sides. I can't believe what they're going through. You know what I mean? Monetary wise, and just for closure for them, and hey, the taxpayers. Now they gotta pay for another thing. Or whatever. But I mean, that's one thing. We tried our hardest, but it wasn't happening.
And that's one thing that Judge Ahn, I mean, one thing I noticed, sitting in the trial, is that she was very concerned about you guys.
we so when we turned in that we couldn't find a verdict, we were like, she's gonna be pissed at us. She's gonna be mad. So we were worried. We were like, oh, she's gonna come here and yell at us. You know what I mean? But she was really nice. She came back in after and she's like, thank you for your service. This was a really long case, as long as she's ever been on, she said. And she was like, don't worry about the hung jury because the law is written that way, so that it's available for you guys. So, and I thought that was a good idea because like it would either be that or some people would have to fold and go against what they really think just to get a verdict. So it was nice that she wasn't like disappointed in us. We was worried that that's how it's gonna be. So it was good. She was very nice. She was very pleasant to work
I
with.
can't imagine. I mean, you're a pretty young guy.
Yeah.
To have to go through, oh, geez, what, 7 weeks.
Yeah.
7 weeks of this. I mean,
It was intense. I mean, I must say, and
I mean, what were your friends saying? Were they kind of like, wow, what?
that's stuff. They tell us, oh, you can't talk to anyone. No one, you can't tell anyone you're on this. It's like, come on, anyone with common sense knows. You've been there that long, and oh, you have a break this day. You know what I mean? So like, yeah. So everyone, they're hounding you for, well, what is I can't, I can't say, I can't say anything. You know what I mean? So that was kind of hard, and and we're not supposed to listen to the news or this and that, but it just comes. You hear this and that or whatever. But honestly, the good thing is like, I mean, you guys see exactly what we do. So it's not like you guys are getting information we don't have, or so. But it was intense, and when I first got the jury duty, I was like, I hate jury duty. I don't want to be there. I've done it before. I was like, whatever. But when I went and I heard what the case was, I was like, wow, this is if I had to be on jury duty, this is going to be an interesting one. You know what I mean? At least I don't got to worry about falling asleep and stuff. But yeah, it was intense though, I must say. Like the videos, the pictures we seen, they were heavy, man. That was some heavy stuff, and especially with the family there, and you know what I mean. It was a little bit harder than I think I thought it was gonna be in the beginning. You know what I mean? Just it was intense, I must say.
When you got into the courtroom
Hmm.
and you were there with the families, with the people, was that hard for you?
Yeah, I mean, just because that you because of the videos we're watching, you know what I mean. You know, Mr. Eldritch is dying or dead in the video, and the family is right there. You know what I mean? That's rough. You know what I mean? I can't imagine what having to see that again. Or keep watching it. It's on the news. You know what I mean? That's gotta be horrible for them. So I mean that's rough.
Did you? I know you guys are there to do a job, but
Hmm.
at times did you want to look at them or not look at them, or do you? I'm just trying to think of what you're going through your head. I know you had one thing to focus on
Yeah.
too, but
So yeah, that
right
is.
there.
I mean, and
Did
I
you try
sat
not
at that
to?
end. You know what I mean? So I'm like, like. I don't want to make eye contact, but I kind of want to see their reaction in a way. But yeah, a lot of times we just kind of focus on what's in front of us and stuff like that. But I kind of look back to see, both sides, how their reaction is. See what, how they react to what people are saying and stuff like that. So.
So what about? I mean, everybody. We talked a lot about the possibility of lesser charges.
Uh-huh.
Why there weren't lesser charges. What were your thoughts on that? Did you guys talk about that at all? Could you, or did you have thoughts on it? Or
That was a rough one. We kind of, of course, and that's funny that now there's like a million Facebook lawyers out there. They think they know everything about the case. So, it's kind of hard because, he did kill him. You know what I mean? That's not a question. You know what I mean? So, I don't know if the lesser sentence would have mattered. And we, in our instructions for us, we're not supposed to, take, think about if that was a chance or whatever. So we really stuck to what we had. You know what I mean? These are instructions. We need to go off of this. We can't, what if this, you know what I mean? So we didn't really bring that up too much in the deliberations. Once in a while I was like, why did they take it off? How come this? But, it was real minor, and we'd get back to what we needed to do. I mean, we didn't want to think that way because, that's kind of like hindsight, or, what if this, what if that? Hey, that's not the case. This is what we have. Let's do it. Let's get it over with.
so I know that in the end it has to be unanimous.
Yes.
Everybody has to agree on it. But where were you at the end? Like, what was between the 12 of you? What did it end up being? You can't say whom. That's fine.
Yeah.
I understand.
It was 8 not guilty, 4 guilty. And the hard part was there were some people that were still kind of on the fence, about it. But we said, we can't be on the fence. It needs to be either or. So put your vote in this way, because we kept doing votes throughout it, to see how things were progressing. Because in the beginning it was split 6-6, and then maybe right after that, some people came to the went to the non-guilty side, and we kept doing more. See how everyone is, and it just wasn't changing. And there was a couple of people that were they were very strong-minded. They were set in their ways, and we kept going over the points that were the hard parts to kind of just decide about.
What were the biggest sticking points, would you say?
I would say some of the biggest points was his intoxication. Like, what was it? And the hard part was, there was no test. So it's all about what people said, and that was no help, because there's this many people this way. It's like, it's kind of just, it came down to what the people thought, and how, and us, how we viewed the video, because I mean, it was almost split on people, who thought he was intoxicated and who thought he wasn't. And then the hard part too is the way the law is written. It doesn't say the exact point where the intoxication is. It's written very vaguely. So that was kind of the hard part for us, because we had to do it ourselves. It's like they didn't write it out for us. So we tried to get clarification on it, but it's like we have all the information that is required. You know what I mean? So that was kind of the intoxication was one of the harder parts, and the point at what is deadly force? When is it okay to use? You know, a lot of it was since their injuries weren't serious, you know, after the fact. So that was kind of the hard thing. Like, you know, he did shoot him. Could he have done something else? Because the injuries weren't so bad, you know. And that's kind of hard part because, you know, the way the law is written, it doesn't say, you know, like, if you receive this, you can use the force. You know, it's perceived by the person who's getting attacked. So that was the hard part because, you know what I mean? Some people on the jury are like, well, I could have beat him up, or I could have done this. And, you know, we're like, hey, you're not him, you know. And so that was things we had to get through in the beginning, you know, like, we need to go through his eyes. You know, do we think he perceived that there was serious injury, you know, and this and that. So that was one thing that and the alcohol was probably the two things that was really what we kept going over and over, and that was what we couldn't really decide on, you know, because it's written so vaguely, you know.
Yeah, I mean, that really came across throughout the trial too. Sitting there going, I'm really not sure what I feel about that.
Exactly.
It's really not clear.
Yeah, so that was really the hard part, just because the way the law is written, you know what I mean. So that was the hard part.
What about his whatever the governing policy should be as to whether or not he should have been carrying a gun? That to me was a little unclear too. If you went by the manual or if you went by the federal law.
I mean, so that the way I perceived it was like, you know, if he wasn't allowed to per his job carry and even consume alcohol, you know, that's an administrative thing, I think. You know, I mean, that should be his job, that, you know, hey, you're fired because he was drinking and carrying a gun or whatever, if that is in their manual, you know what I mean. But then the federal law says, you know, they can consume alcohol, they cannot be intoxicated or under the influence.
Which you didn't know.
So yeah,
there was no test.
Exactly, you know what I mean. So we have to go by what people say, and, you know, for some people that was fact, and for some of us it wasn't. So, you know, that was kind of the hard part.
I know another huge point with both sides too was the whole first aggressor thing, and was it the physical, was it the verbal, and how do you look at that? And
that was the worst part too, because there's no audio. There was no audio from the video, so it's all what people say, and everyone says something different, you know, and they don't. And I could imagine that had to have been traumatic for people just there. Gunshots, you know what I mean? Seeing someone bleeding out on the ground. You know what I mean? I'm sure you hear something, and then later your brain puts it together the way it wants to, you know what I mean? So, you know, the mind is a powerful thing. It can tell you whatever it wants, you know what I mean? So you might have heard something and saw something, and then you put the two together, and it might not have been that person saying that, but, you know, that's the way it came out. So, I mean, that was the hard part, because we couldn't hear what they're saying. You know, you see him bending over, you know, maybe he's showing him a badge, maybe he's showing him pictures of his wife, who knows, you know, because the video is like, well, Minecraft or Legos, you know, it's blocks. This is the horriblest video ever, you know what I mean?
It was amazing when they put it in they put it in the sequence they wanted to put it in.
Yeah,
All of a sudden you just get a different perspective, and then you see it this way, and it's like, oh, wait a minute, I didn't think of it that way.
So that was the thing too, you know, because so once we finally got in there, we played it. We brought up, you can bring up 4 videos at a time, so you can see each scene on one screen. So we would play it like that, so we could see different angles, because each picture, it's not really a video, right? Each picture is taken, you know, in a rotation, right? So each camera takes a picture. So there's a couple seconds in between each camera, so that way we could get, you know, more of a complete picture of what's going on. And, you know, the lawyers, they show you what they want to show you, you know what I mean? So that was the good thing. I must say, the thing I was, you know, happiest about is the way they picked the jury. Like, I think they picked smart people. And at first I'm like, you know, everyone should do this. You know, everyone should have to go to jury duty if I'm here, you know, but I was glad to see them kick some people off, you know, because I was like, oh man, this person, you know what I mean? They can't even understand half the questions they're asking them. So I was glad to see that. I think the people they picked were intelligent, you know what I mean? I must say that was a good thing too. There was men, women, you know, holy people, local people, you know what I mean? There was a little bit of everything in there, you know, so that's why it was good. I mean, and, you know, we didn't reach a conclusion, but it was good to see that everyone, stood their ground, even though it would have been nice to get a verdict, you know what I mean? But I'm glad to see that, that people could, they weren't pushed around, they weren't bullied into anything, you know what I mean? So I think it was a very even process with intelligent people and a nice, broad, spectrum of people.
Well, you had a chance to sleep on it after all this, after 7 weeks. What are your thoughts today? I mean, how did you feel when you woke up in the morning?
Well, you know what? I'm just glad it's over. Just because every day it was like, I'm how do is is the way I'm thinking correct? Should I be thinking the other way? How can I convince this person to think this way? Just it's like that video just keeps playing for all of us. All of us would say like, we don't want to eat McDonald's ever again. You know what I mean? Like, we joked every day, like, what do we eat today? Chicken McNuggets? You know what I mean? Because it's like, we've changed after that. You know what I mean? We don't want to go to any of those places that they mentioned in that place. It's just like, it's bad news to go anywhere over there,
Brings everything back.
Yeah, exactly. So, honestly, it was just a relief to be done with it. I mean, driving home, I had a smile on my face just because even though we didn't reach anything, I was just like so happy to be, a weight off my shoulders.
Well, like you said, I mean, you guys went through the process as an intelligent, thoughtful group of people, and you have that with you too, whatever the outcome was.
Yes. So I mean, and people say that everyone should go through the jury process, and I think they should, just because like there is all those Facebook lawyers, they think they know everything about the case and how the law works, you know what I mean? So I think everyone should go through it before they, judge us or the judge. I see all these comments like, the judge should have done this, and what, you know what? You don't know what you're talking about, pretty much. So it's like, go do your civil duty and sit through that thing, and then, maybe you have a different view on how the law works and stuff like that.
When you, have a little more time maybe to sort of think about everything that's happened in this case and what you've learned and what you've experienced, what do you think is going to stick with you?
To be honest, what kind of sticks with me is I'm a gun owner, and I keep one for self-defense, to protect my family and stuff like that, and it kind of opens my eyes that if you do decide to use that deadly force, you need to be positive, you know what I mean, because the way the law is written. I mean, you know what I mean, you might that's what's hard, because like a lot of us were because one guy was debating, his family, they might be getting a gun or whatever, and after this they were like, no, because you might think you're in the right at the time, and then who knows what kind of jury you get. They could all believe a different way, and then, you know what I mean, you could be the one that's in trouble. So I must say that kind of stuck out to me the most, on how it's a very fine line on that, that self-defense, especially when you're going to be using that deadly force. So I mean, I think that might stick out the most to me, how it can go either way almost for you.
Any other thoughts? Anything else you want to add? I appreciate you talking. That's what we do.
I think that's the majority of it. I don't know what else to say.
What are you gonna do this week?
Relax. I mean, if I'm gonna be on the news, I was supposed to be at work today, but I was like, I just wanted to take a day off and relax. You know what I mean? Go eat with my, fiance and stuff like that. Cause just relax. Just have a day off right after that. Cause it was intense. I mean, just sitting there all day, and that was the most crazy part, I think, just because it was so surprisingly tired when I get home and stuff, and we come the next day and we'd be like, man, I'm so tired, you know what I mean? And the one thing that was kind of bad for us is one person got sick, we all got sick. I mean, we're trapped in that room, we're next to each other all day. I mean, we're passing around evidence to each other. It's just like a petri dish of germs in there. So like one guy gets sick, then this guy gets sick. So that was the bad part. Like, that's why we didn't meet last Friday, because there was 2 people and they were they were sick. And then we come back Monday, 2 more people are sick. You know what I mean? So we were that was another thing why we were so tired, and just, yeah, it was draining.